Deep web users of Reddit, what are your worst or scariest experiences you've had while browsing? I did some dark web browsing in hopes of finding weird shitty. TBH, it's a bunch of really shitty websites that look like they were designed in 1999. The worst that happened is I went on a sketchy website. Then somebody started accessing my camera. The joke was on them. The camera was broken already. I've got a good one for this. I still haven't figured out 100% how this person found out info. But here it goes. I was buying some clothing off of the Silk Road for a while and one day received an inbox on my personal Twitter account. The person talked about how I was an amateur and obviously didn't protect my identity enough and that they would report me to the police with information about the clothing I was buying. When I initially called their bluff, they went on to say, "Oh really? What would mom and dad's name say about this, or your teachers from school say?" Demanding money in return for not giving me up. Basically getting blackmailed, and I was very nervous because this person had all my info and I thought my Tor browser had been compromised. Later I rationalized that by following the Silk Road up and running Twitter account on my personal Twitter. The person assumed what I was using it for and used my real Twitter name to find out info on me and blackmail me. It ended up just blowing over after I ignored and blocked the account. Honestly, most of the highly disturbing content on the internet can be found right on the surface. If you consider highly disturbing to be murder, rape, etc., the deep web is mostly a fairly benign place for the sale of drugs, fraud paraphernalia, etc. by people who aren't really sadistic in their intentions. There is some child PRN, unfortunately, but it is pretty actively pushed to the fringes and shunned by most. There are a few almost certainly fake hitmen. I believe I saw what looked like a pretty legit swatting service at one time. I was also around for those wonka super counterfeit notes which, while not spooky, were definitely pretty remarkable in terms of the enormous illegal operation I was witnessing. Most of the horror stories you hear are just that. Stories. The creepy aspect of it all is perhaps the big picture itself. It's harder to buy weed than it is to watch a video of two teenagers beating a hobo to death with a hammer. There was an MLG version of someone getting beat up in a basement. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but I subscribe to this YouTuber who explores and shares interesting things he sees on the deep web for people who are curious, but don't want to go on it themselves. Something that really stuck with me and disturbed me was these human experiment journals, which documented human experimentation on homeless or kidnapped individuals. I have no idea if it was real or not, but it was disturbing as FCK. A great deal of that is long forgotten creepypasta and stuff taken from dystopian novels and passed off for the truth. This was really popular after the implosion of the USSR, and people thought they'd found amazing and shocking true stories of government-connected mobsters murdering their rivals by vivisection, and today stream it on the web for cash. Yet no case has ever been found, much less prosecuted, and not even close to independently verified. Stuff I could easily find on Alta Vista 10 years ago. Nothing really shocked me, but one was really disgusting. A tutorial on how to cut your own nuts and prepare them to eat. That really grossed me out. Oh. And don't even look for PRN. You might see the most FK'd up stuff you'll ever see. Naked H2O. Snuff. I had a glimpse once. It was on a site that just streamed the latest GIFs without filter. I'm sure they would lie me to link. Most of it was J-pop boy bands, but one was a CCTV of what I can only assume was a suicide bomber. Since the site had no context, I knew zero info. Raised pedestrian bridge. Two guys sitting and talking. Other people walking to where they needed to go. All of a sudden one of the guys sitting just blows up. Black guy everywhere. The guy sitting next to him falls over slow motion like frozen in the sitting position he was in. I have no doubt that he was stone dead. After he falls, torso splats closer to the camera. Everyone else just runs. I never went back to that site. Not sure I'd call anything there scary. Anyone on Tor knows exactly what it's used for. Or what people like to use it for. So nothing was surprising. I hosted an anonymous chat room for a while. It got abused fairly hard and I ended up taking it down out of fear of being busted. Some of the things I saw included soft hardcore CP. Advertisements from sellers on Silk Road. People asking to buy weapons hits. People reviewing services offered. It was a scam, it was legit. ETC. People selling BTC. Prescription drugs. Photos, videos of hardcore gore. The list goes on. Some people even just chatted about normal stuff. I think we need to demystify Tor a little bit. It's not a window into an online child PRN ring. It's a legitimate browser that aims to protect users' privacy, and does a pretty damn good job of it. I have visited the deep web before, but as another user said, I mostly encountered crappy style websites and locked websites that required invitation or Bitcoin payment for entry. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of credit card scammers and fake identification sites, whereby you can literally start a new life for the right price. Passports, driver's licenses and even social security numbers to buy. I read a few disturbing things on there. One in particular I remember was A Cannibal's Guide to Cooking and Preparing Human Meat. It was a very strenuous read as it was so casually explaining what to do. From choosing the right person and what kind of person will taste the best based on various factors, to cutting, blood draining and cooking methods to achieve the best taste. It was definitely a serious post. And definitely something I won't forget reading. I have not been back since and never will return. There is no need. Dark web. And what's the dank web? I signed into Facebook. My god. Are you okay? I once stumbled on a website containing nothing but page after page of legal pornography featuring consenting adults. I was horrified. This thread is not nearly as dark as I thought it would be. Went to this 4chan site once. It was full of Nazis. Who is this 4chan? Nothing has happened really to me because of appropriate measures taken. If you are scared of going on the dark web, look up the game on Steam. Welcome to the game. It's a great game that will make you spend hours looking for clues to the Red Room. Yes, the game is about the deep and dark web. It's fantastic. The worst experience I had was when browsing around. It was the middle of the night and I saw some weird link and decided I'll go on a limb, and all of a sudden there are people f***ing amputees. I hope that pun was intentional. The dark web is about to get a lot more popular if countries like the UK continue to censor the internet. Me and my friend were scrolling through some pages. Came across a hitman hire. $10,000 for one kill. You provide them with details of who it is, stated no children or public figures, and how long they have to do it. It rocked us so much we just clicked off it and didn't go on it for a while. On the internet, the men are men. The women are men. The kids are FBI agents. And the hitmen are also FBI agents. Most of these hitmen sites are made by the government. I was on a deep web chat room and a guy kept asking me if I knew where he could find a pedophile video. I sent him a picture of a toenail file. Pedo is Latin for foot. Anything before 2000s is scary on the internet. The scariest one wasn't even on the deep web. It was on some mainstream social website. The admins there were editing user posts. Totally disturbing. Where can you find the deep web? Through Tor. I wouldn't recommend it though. If you do decide to browse the deep web though, I would suggest you do your research beforehand so you don't get into any shitty. Install a VM with XP. Install Tor browser. Jobs are gotten. Not really dark web, but I was trying to find this really obscure Chinese delicacy with a long name and spelled it a little off. What I got in result was a bunch of pictures of mutilated children. At least I think they're children. Might have just been malnourished teenagers and heavily airbrushed Korean girls. Was kinda weird. hitmen that said stuff like no targets under the age of 16. This much for in Europe. This much for North America. This much anywhere else. Sites to buy fake IDs. Counterfeit money. Guns and arms. Of course a bunch of CP sites and SX slave stuff I didn't wanna click on. The human experiment forum someone else said but I couldn't get access to it. Drug sites. Gambling. Pretty much any crime related stuff you could think of. Plus a bunch of boring not illegal stuff. Never been there and never will. But what made me the most physically sick was a copied text post from the deep web about a man who stole young girls and turned them into living appendageless SX dolls. I have no idea if it was ever real. But man, did that scar me for months. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I won't go looking for it and post it. If you want read it, ask someone else. Of all the things that never happened, that one never happened the most. That was 100% not real. Yeah, the Lolita SX dolls thing. I know what you're talking about. Don't worry. That was definitely fake. F-king scared the shit out of me when I read it though. How anyone could believe, even for a second, that what the text post in question describes could possibly be true is beyond me. It's a 4chan thing. Some people on one of their NSFW boards have a fetish for it. I don't think anything's been legitimately done like that though, because it'd be a global phenomenon of public disgust and horror. Never been. But from what I've heard of those who have. A lot of cheese pizza. Not just regular shitty either. Disgusting shitty. Nothing hiding the fact they're being exploited. Heavily abused. Etc. I've heard of things I hate even repeating. Kids tied up. Or obviously drugged. Or covered in burns and bruises. Don't go there OP. OHH piss a good I get IT now I'm in the loop. Worst experience by far was reading a philosophy paper written by my ethics professor hosted on her personal website. Which she hosted herself on her home server. Password protected. As if anyone would want to break in and read her essays. Or, did you mean dark web? These passive aggressive comments are my favorite. Memes. They were quite spooky. About 9 years ago, I was in the 7th grade. I had a friend over to my place. We knew each other from school and played COD4 online together as we both had just recently gotten PS3s. We were pretty similar and both browsed the web heavily at the time. We both knew of shock videos and were intrigued by 2 girls 1 cup and things of that nature. We decided to sit down and watch 3 Guys 1 Hammer and I honestly don't think I've been the same since. We couldn't finish the video and I remember closing the browser and walking out to the front of my house not knowing what I had just witnessed. I remember the first viewing vividly. The hammer strikes playback in my mind like it was yesterday. I forced myself several years later to finish the video as some sort of closure and it made me feel better I guess. I'm about to graduate college with a math degree so I guess it didn't FCK me up too bad. But it changed my life for sure. I was still very young and very impressionable. Edit. Read the question wrong. Might wanna toss up a NSFW tag as a precautionary measure. I see enough disturbing stuff just going through Liver Lake. I think I'll stick with my doggo compilations on YouTube. Honestly, not terribly disturbing. But a random page I loaded from an index page with a bunch of extremist jihad bullshit on it. Fairly confident it was an ISIL or other recruiting site. Just one of those very real reminders that all of the freedoms we fight for, all of the technology we create, is a razor-sharp double-edged sword.